Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and today we have special guest Stephen Watson here. And Stephen, could you just introduce yourself briefly?
Well, hi, Sheila. First, thanks for having me on the show. I'm a guy who grew up in Inglewood, California, and my whole life I've had the honor of mentoring several young men, and I've been a personal trainer my whole adult life, and I've always had theories that I use to help teach my students, my people I mentor, as well as to keep my own crazy self in line. And throughout my life, people have said, you should write a book, man. You should share these theories with everybody. You can make the world a better place. So I figured, heck, if I can, may as well. Right? And so I wrote a book called Me in Theory, and I've released it. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about today, Sheila.
All right, wonderful. Well, this show actually came about based on my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. And this last couple years, we've had every situation. So I'd love to start off, yes, by asking if you have a time in your business or personal life where you experienced a tough situation and how you got back on track.
Oh, well, almost every business endeavor I've ever had has had rough times. I mean, you're very unrealistic to think that it's always going to be sunshine. You know, every now and then you got to be ready to pull out the umbrella and deal with the rain.
Yes.
And well, for example, I just moved to El Mirage, which is out here in the high desert in San Bernardino County. And I opened up a training camp called the Beyond Next Level Training Camp. I teach kickboxing. I have a program I called Fight for Fitness. And I did it, I opened it up about maybe 6 weeks before the pandemic hit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't even think I really need to go into details as to how harsh it's been since then. You know, I am out in the high desert. It's the kind of place to where you come and camp out and do, you know, kind of hardcore training sessions. Yeah, the weather's crazy all year around. It's either super hot or super cold. There's wind and all kinds of stuff that'll take whatever you do in your gym to the next level out there.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, this is quite a different time, and resourcefulness is everything. So we are challenged in new ways. So many challenges. And I thought I was going on a book tour, and the next thing you know, it was an online book tour. And that's how
Right. Well, there would be another one that I'm dealing with.
yes, yes. So that's kind of the thing. And I'd love to hear maybe your favorite chapter in the book and just a little overview of your book.
Okay, well, thank you for asking. I'd have to say theories in the book because the theories are each one page. It makes a great coffee book table because you can read from it, set it down, and come back anytime. Your guest can pick it up and just browse it. And it's not something that you have to finish at any time. You get the theories you want out of it and run with those. And so that's, you know, something that myself, as well as a lot of people who don't have a great deal of time, is the fact you don't have to sit and go cover to cover with it. And one of my favorite theories is one because I use it all the time these days. And it's a theory, Sheila, with each of my theories, I have a little story that I tell as to, you know, kind of how the theory came about. So one day I was down on my boat in the marina, and I was coming off of my boat with a young lady I was dating. And we walked off the boat, and there was a circle of guys up there, and they all laughed. And I thought, well, that's horribly rude and disrespectful. You know, especially to say in front of her. If you think we're just being the boys, I still wouldn't have liked it, but I wouldn't have found it to be such a problem. And it made me angry, Sheila. And I was going to go over there and say something. And the woman I was dating, Kelly, she grabs my hand and she goes, come on, let's go for our walk. And we got, a few paces up, and she could see that it was still bothering me. And she turned and stepped in front of me. And Kelly was not known for being one of the most, she was crazy. She was loads of fun. But she turns to me and she says, baby, don't let it rent that much space.
Yes.
And to this day, when some idiot cuts me off on the freeway and I start to feel my blood pressure rise, I hear her voice say, baby, don't let it rent that much space. And so that's one that is in the book that I think would help everybody on a day-to-day basis, like it does me.
Yes.
Constantly telling myself, Stevo, chill out. Don't let it rent that much space, dude. It's not that big a deal. Nothing is.
That's so good. And I think this whole season of craziness has put things in perspective for everyone, because we didn't know how good we had it. We
really didn't.
We were free.
Well, and I think a lot of people are starting to realize, why am I paying all this rent for buildings when I could have done this from home to start with? So, there's a lot of brick and mortar renters, not just stores, that are, probably going to feel the bad side of this whole thing. And another theory in my book is, if you built it, you can rebuild it.
Exactly.
So, and when you rebuild it, you'll probably be better and stronger and more efficient, because you already have the experience of having built.
So true.
And so that's something along the lines of what your book and what you're talking about. It's about, sometimes it's not about how great you can build it, it's how great you can rebuild it.
Yes. And there's something that happens. I have this mantra that the universe conspires for our highest and best good. And so when we get a redirect, a course reroute in life, whether that's a divorce, loss of a loved one, going through a tough situation. I had a house burned down in the Ventura fires. So, crazy stuff happens. That's the inception of the book, was that. And so when these things happen, they're out of our control, but really they're rerouting us to something even better. And it's hard to believe that at the moment, but later on, when you look back, you're like, okay, I see why that had to wake me up for whatever reason. And so it's a catalyst. I believe it's a time whenever you go through a situation like that, where you can truly reinvent life or business on your terms.
Absolutely.
And yes, that makes a big difference.
Well, life sometimes takes us in directions we didn't know we were going to go in, and one of the theories in my book is called the current. And life is like the current. It's like a river. It's going to flow in the direction it needs to flow. And usually the only thing that messes it up is when we stick our hand in it and try to mess with the current. If we just stay out of the way and let it flow, it's a beautiful thing. It gets to where it's going. But as soon as we stick our hand in there and try to run things, next thing you know, the water splashed all over the shore. It's in your face. It's on your shirt. It's everywhere except for where it's supposed to go, downstream.
Yes.
And so that is another theory in the book. I have one that I want to share for the holidays, actually.
Definitely.
Because it is that time of year, and sometimes they share opinions that end up leading to fights. I have a theory in the book, and I'll give you the story, Sheila, along with the theory. I was training this guy who's an offensive lineman, huge guy, and he's working out, and I could just see he's not in his groove. And Lawrence, what's up, brother? You all right? He goes, I'm sorry, man. I'm just kind of tired. I was up all night arguing with my woman. And I'm like, what's going on, man? He says, well, she wants to sit down at the table and say something, and I don't agree with it. So, I say something, and next thing you know, we're up all night, arguing. I said, Lawrence, my brother, you know what? Let me teach you a theory. I call it the sound of one hand clapping. If she wants to sit down and provide one hand, it doesn't make any noise till you provide the second hand. There's the sound of one hand clapping. If you don't want to stay up all night and you don't want to hear the second hand.
Yeah.
For those of you out there who are going to end up in political, religious, or sexual, what starts out to be opinions over the holidays, please remember the sound of one hand clapping. If you don't wish to be in an argument, don't put yourself in it.
Yes, that's it. It's boundaries, especially during this time. You go back to relatives, family, and the next thing you know, we kind of revert to when we were a younger person, and it's like, okay, now we're gonna start answering questions or being put on the spot, and it's different. You have a different relationship now with your parents or with your elders in your life,
With
and
everybody.
yes, with everybody, relatives, brothers, sisters, whoever. And to be able to set the new standard for how the relationship moves forward, sometimes you have to have conversations and sometimes you don't need to. You don't need to, provide that other hand, like you say. You don't need to get in those conversations. You can reroute to a different discussion and keep it light. And
every now and then asking yourself, is there any good to come from this, is a really, really smart thing to do.
Yes, you always know where the conversation is going to end up. If you've been there every season, every holiday, you already know.
People are out there arguing for the sake of arguing, and it's like, really? I mean, do you even give a damn about what you're arguing about, or you just want to argue?
Yes.
So, to avoid those people, just don't step in. The difference between an opinion and an argument, Sheila, is an opinion is given once. And that's it. You've said what you have to say. When someone counter opinions, counter back, you've already said your piece. Like debate. If you ever like debate club, once you've said your piece, the other guy says their thing, you're done, man.
Exactly.
You better have covered it in your time.
Yes. So I was raised by Italian grandparents. And so they're very rich and full of expression, let's just say.
Right.
And so we would,
I love how you're using the hands describing them.
and so the thing with that was that we would say, things would be said at the table, and it would be like, and then everybody hugs and it's over.
Yeah.
It wasn't personal. It was just, let's all express ourselves. And it was very direct. And sometimes grandma could tell some dirty jokes, let me tell you. and it was great, but it was different. And so that open conversation, it was like, okay, we all have an opinion and we'll fight about it. We'll talk about it, but then it's done and we're family and it's all good. And that's what I was raised with. So it kind of made that easier in that sense.
Yeah. Well, I'm 60 years old and I was raised in Inglewood, California. And, back in the day, I used to walk the streets a lot, and every now and then we would get into a beef. But when the beef was over, it was all over. We even have beers together. I also, I train MMA fighters. And so it's so much fun to be out there in some guy's corner. And our whole objective is to rip this guy's head off. And then, about 25 minutes later, when the fight's over, we're all out having beers together.
Yes.
And we love each other. And we are a brotherhood, even though we know it's our job to go out there and try to knock that guy's head off. But we don't dislike him. We don't hate him. That's something that I have a problem with the NFL and football in general. Their coaches tend to make you want to hate your opponents. You guys can manage to play football without hating each other.
Right. And the reality is we wouldn't have a game without that other team. So
we certainly wouldn't. And as Buddha said, is so quoted, I didn't put it in the book, but to hate somebody is like taking poison yourself and expecting somebody else to die from it.
That's so good. It's a powerful thing to get to the point where you're good and you don't have to continue to hold an emotion or a blame. I feel like that point in our life is really the empowerment point where it's like, you know what, that problem, situation, person, negative thing that happened, it doesn't affect me, because if I continue to blame that person, this trauma happened. Okay, stuff happens to everybody. And the reality is, you have to go through grieving, whatever you need to go through to heal. But as long as you keep blaming that situation for your current situation and choices, who owns your life? That
Exactly. All you've done is given control away
yes, yes. So
when you blame somebody else.
exactly.
And
And when
I'm
you
so
say,
glad you said that, Sheila, too, because some few people actually realize what statement they're making when they blame somebody else. They're screaming at you. I have no control over my own life. Anybody else, even a stranger, can step in and run my life.
yes,
And
yes.
that's a horrible, sad, pathetic place to be, in my opinion.
It really is. And it's a place that I don't know, society tends to teach even young children that's what you do. Oh, well, the dog ate my homework.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, and whatever the situation is. And so I think just learning to do that, you're so free. The moment I did that, I was like, I'm done. I own my problems, my good and my bad and my indifferent things I need to work on. I own it all. Nobody else gets
Well,
to own it.
yeah. I mean,
Not a bit.
blame should be a recognition of what went wrong so
Yep.
that you can fix it. It shouldn't
Exactly.
be a reason to not deal with it because you have somebody else's lap that it got dumped in. People don't want to take responsibility. People are very, very quick to point out problems, but it
Yes.
doesn't seem like anyone feels it's their job to solve them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is wrong with the world. That's wrong with the world. Well, that's great. Well, what the hell are you going to do to fix it, buddy?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. How are you showing up? How are
we
you
all live here. We all have TVs. We all have the news. We understand that things aren't that great, but what we're not seeing in any of those is how do we fix it? It's not the news job to tell us how to fix it. It's only their job to report it. It's our job to fix it. And the more we go on and perpetuate the situation by whining, pissing, moaning, blaming other people, the longer the situation's going to be here.
That's right. That's right. So one of my favorite trainings was I went through the Tony Robbins strategic intervention training for consulting. And when I did that program, we got to watch videos and work with the trainers learning. And the videos were breakthrough. It was a program that Tony did on television. It was a television series. And the breakthroughs where people had things happen in their life. For instance, there was a basketball player who lost his ability to walk, and and things like really serious stuff happened.
Yeah.
You want to be depressed and you want to give up. It's easy to be okay with doing that in society. And the first assignment Tony would give on the series was to go and give back, to help other people. And it's like, what? I'm suffering right now. I'm in this terrible pity party place, and yes, you may have very good reason. But when you're out of your head and in your heart and you're giving to other people, it is virtually impossible to stay in that depressing state.
Well,
And
it
when you're
is. And the only way, I'm sorry, Sheila, go ahead.
when you're giving back, that's how you can receive.
Yeah. And the only way to understand the true great feeling that you get from giving back is to do it. Nobody can explain to you how it makes you feel. You've got to do it. You got to do it. When you get out there, I went out with Gary Garver one year and helped him give out meals to the homeless.
Yes.
Well, I can't tell you how high I was on life, on Gary, even though Gary's not the most pleasant guy on the planet. Hell, I loved him to death for a week and a half just because of how high I was on me for going and doing it with him.
Right.
And it was a feeling that I couldn't describe to people. I'm like, you just got to go out there and do something. I just did an interview last week, and one of the people on the show was somebody who's doing a documentary about going and helping the homeless.
Yes.
And, she gets together sandwiches. Many of my friends actually do that, get together sandwiches and stuff and just go down and pass them out and try to get blankets and stuff at this time of year and go down to downtown LA and pass those out. And it's just like I said, until you've actually stepped in it, you just don't know what it smells like.
Yes, yes. That's so true. And because somebody is going through a tough situation, or because they're homeless, or having another struggle, that doesn't mean they're going to stay there for the rest of their life. And sometimes just small help can make all the difference. If you're listening in and you need help this year, I don't get paid for this sponsorship, but tune into dial in 211. You can Google it or call it, and there's resources if you're having trouble getting food on the table, or need help with getting a home, or getting through an addiction or abuse, something like that. 211 and your state or province in Canada. Every state in the US has that. So that's something I like to share.
And that is
during
worthy of sharing, Sheila.
Yes, yes.
If you're
So
going to do a
that's
public service announcement, that's a good one.
thank you. Yeah, so many people don't know about it, and it's the resources that people might need right now, and they're afraid to ask. So, and then
Yeah,
there it is.
yeah. A lot of people feel that everyone's so busy hating on them that there
Yes.
isn't something out there to help them, but there is.
Yes.
And of course, once again, at this time of year, I like to remind people that there are a bunch of suicide hotlines out there,
Mhm.
and by all means, use them. They're all free. All of them are manned by people who not only do have training in this field, but actually give a damn. They do care.
Exactly,
And so,
exactly.
you don't have to be alone if you don't wish to be. There's plenty of places to go this holiday.
Yes, and I lost my son during the holiday season a couple years ago, one of them to a heart condition. And yeah, it was really hard, and we still have our moments during these holidays
I'm
for
sure.
sure. And one of the things is I was really shocked to find out when we went and made the services arrangements at the Memorial Park. What happened was they said this is the highest time of the year for deaths overall from everything. And so it's really important. Check in on your friends. Give the gift of time right now. Check in
Yeah.
on your strong friends too. And that's going to make a big difference this time of year. Even if you can't go in person, make sure to call, set up a Zoom, make a Zoom party, anything
Yeah.
you can do. And if you're feeling down, go through your phone and start connecting with people to check on them. And guess what? You'll find by the end of an hour or so talking to people, you won't be so sad either. You'll be happy to connect, and they'll be like, oh, I was sitting here and I was wishing I felt so low.
Right.
I just wanted to hear from someone.
Well, and Sheila, it's a great thing you just said too about your strong friends too, because
Mhm.
people tend to forget the people they always reach out to for help.
Right.
Every now and then, it really they need someone to just let them know that they give a damn.
Yes. Yes.
Know that they matter.
Exactly.
You may not think, oh, well, I always go to Stevo with all my problems. He's the last person. Not
Right.
true. Not true. I appreciate it as much as the next guy.
Yes, yes. So that's true. And so, and the homeless thing, gosh, I was a homeless kid, 10 to
I,
13. And
I'm
then
aware of your story. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you saw it, but I put up on my Facebook page that I almost wish I was interviewing you because your story is so interesting.
oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, that's the thing. That's what happens is, you don't give up on yourself. If you're going through something, that doesn't mean anything. And I don't know, I was so young. I just thought it was a great adventure, and I was learning, and the people in front of me were who I was supposed to meet to help me on my journey in life. And I guess, when you're young, you're not, I don't know, connected to the definition of, a
Yeah.
hardship or good and bad. You're just on an adventure. So
Yeah,
so that's it.
absolutely. When I was 17, I moved to Maui. And next thing you
Nice.
know, I found myself without a place to live. And I was living on the beach out there for a while.
Yep,
And I didn't see myself as homeless.
exactly.
I was, like you said, on an adventure. I
Yep,
had 2 jobs. I just needed to save up a gang of money because Hawaii was so expensive.
right.
I moved in with a family member, and then next thing I know, and she moves in with her boyfriend, and I'm kind of out in the cold. I'm sure I had no grasp of what people who are really homeless go through, having been in Hawaii and on the beach, sleeping under a catamaran, getting up and using
Mm,
their beach shower in the morning, and
right,
it wasn't the most brutal life. It was like an adventure, but a lot of
exactly.
that probably had to do with my mindset and that I looked at it as an adventure.
Mindset is everything. So
Isn't
now,
it just?
yes, I'd love to hear, are you offering the personal training program still, or how is that
Oh
working?
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, right now I still, as a matter of fact, I have a client who's starting up today at 5 o'clock, coming
Nice.
out and going to strap the gloves on him and have some fun. But I'm
Awesome.
still doing it. I'll always do it because I love doing it so much, and it keeps me young.
Yes, yes. So what does that look like for those in the area if they're interested in doing some personal training work with you? What does that look like if somebody were to sign up?
Well, I can tell you if you'd like to have a sneak peek on
Yeah.
my Facebook page, and here's a bunch of confusion for everybody, Sheila, that while I'm on the air with you, I might go ahead and shed a little light on. I have 3 different names I go by. One of them is my given name, Stephen T. Watson, which is what I use as a writer. One of them is Steve Jones Watson, which when I got married, I took my wife's last name, Jones, as well as she taking mine. I thought if she's going to take mine, I should take hers. And I became Steve Jones Watson and registered that name with the Screen Actors Guild because I'm also an actor. Unfortunately, the marriage didn't work out. Sometimes vines grow in different directions.
Right.
Nobody has to be a bad guy for things to not work out. And it didn't. And so I still have the name as my Screen Actors Guild name, even though we are not married anymore. A screen name that I use, Bon John Sin, that is my non-union name. So when I do films that are non-union, I can't use Steve Jones Watson because it's a union registered name. I go by Bon John Sin, which I've done. I've hosted several radio shows and podcasts under the name of Bon John Sin. And I actually on a site called Presto Experts, I give sex therapy and wellness advice and help to people on that site as well under the name Bon John Sin. So I have 3 different names. On Facebook, if you go to Steve Jones Watson, I have a page called Fight for Fitness, which is the training program I do. There's a bunch of pictures and videotape of me doing the Fight for Fitness thing. But in short, it's like kickboxing. I teach you the basics of Muay Thai kickboxing, and I bark out commands, and you hit gloves on my hands. Kind of have a good time, blow off steam, and by the time you're done, you don't realize what a hell of a workout you've had until the next morning you get up and you're just everything through here is like, oh my goodness.
Yes. That pain of it's working. This is awesome, I think.
Well, yeah. And for most people, actually, most of my students are female, housewives, moms, people who, got a little steam they'd like to blow off at the same time as they get their workout. And I've had several of their spouses and boyfriends tell me, you're my favorite person on the planet right now. She comes home just so happy. And so that's what it's all about. It's sometimes it's not just about the exercise. It's just the blowing off steam, spending energy, doing something you enjoy. And, I tell people, I don't train your body. I train your mind. I don't reach over and move your muscles. My job is to move your mind. And I use these theories in the book to move people's minds. This is what I've always used to move people's minds. And this is why people have said to me, you should write a book, because I'm always throwing these theories out. If you were to ever train with me, one of the things, I'm really easygoing as a trainer, but I do have one must. It's that you're never getting over the last round. You're always getting ready for the next round.
Yeah.
And I show people what it looks like when you're getting over the last round. I'm bent over, my hands are on my knees, I'm huffing, I'm puffing, I'm looking around like, oh, somebody help me. I show what it looks like to be getting ready for the next round. I'm standing there bouncing back and forth. I'm getting my breath ready, and if you're going to look across the ring at a fighter, which guy would you rather look at? You want the guy who, which fighter would you rather be? The guy who's, up and ready. The other guy looks like he's about to get knocked out, just getting up off his stool. And so you always, when we do these things, we'll go 3 minutes hard. When you do your 1 minute, there's none of this sitting over there thinking about, oh, I'm sore. Oh, that punch I did right, that I did wrong. You need to trust yourself that you know what you're doing well enough to take what you need from it and let the rest go. It's all about the next round. And as most training theories go, this theory works extremely well in all of life.
Yes.
Yeah, if you're too busy getting over the last round, how are you going to prepare for the next round? How are you going to live the next round? You sure as hell don't want to drag the last round into the next round because it's done. It's over. You've already been judged for that one.
So true. Yeah. So, sometimes you meet someone and they're stuck in the last round of life.
A lot of people are.
Yes. 20 years ago, they got divorced. 30 years ago, their mother told them something when they were 4, and,
Oh my
and it's
goodness.
traumatized them for life. And they're in that round. And you know what? If you're not prepared for the next and you're living there, every time they retell the story from that perspective, they're just reliving it, and they've never left that situation behind.
And to go full circle on you, it tends to be that people like that tend to also be the ones who want to blame somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yes, yes. And to be free of that and know that, yeah, that happened, but it's an empowering thing now. And maybe you use it to help someone else, but you don't live there anymore.
Yeah.
It's life changing. It really is.
Well,
It really
another
is.
thing I do that I've always done my whole life, back when I lived in Inglewood, my boat in the driveway we used to jokingly refer to as the Inglewood Betty Ford Center. Because I had a lot of friends who had slipped and, gotten into drug situations, and they would come by there because they know I'm not going to let them mess up, like
Right.
get your butt up on the boat, you can come in the house, clean and shower and everything, but you and me are going to be in the backyard together for 2 weeks. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And that used to be something that I did a lot in Inglewood, and I still do it out here. I'm
Mhm.
always trying to reach out and help those who have been beat down by the weakness called addiction.
Exactly.
And I have 2 theories in my book that deal very strongly with that.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is when a luxury becomes a lifestyle. Be very, very careful. A lot of people find themselves, oh, I just play with it. I just toy with it. Next thing you know, they're doing it in the morning. Next thing you know, they're thinking about it all day. This is when a luxury becomes a lifestyle. This is when you need to pump the brakes, take 2 steps back, and put your own butt in check. So that's one of them, when a luxury becomes a lifestyle. The other one is, so you just didn't say no. All right, you didn't just say no. You went ahead and you had a drug addiction, full blown, but now you're over it. You have managed to kick the habit. First off, congratulations to you. But there's a little something I'd like you to understand, recently recovered drug addicts. You spent a while being a drug addict, and when you did that, you formed a lifestyle.
Yes.
That was a lifestyle that didn't get developed overnight. Because you quit doing drugs today does not mean you are going to lifestyle today.
Mm-hmm.
So if you spent 10, 20 years doing this stuff, now you're stopped, but you're still in the lifestyle. You still have the same habits of a dope addict. Very dangerous, because that's how your addict keeps hold of you, is through that lifestyle. So if you don't make a conscious effort to keep that lifestyle out of your new life, the chances your addict will pull you back are extremely good. And so that's and quite frankly, all of us around you that love you are super happy for you that you managed to quit doing dope. But if you're still acting the same way, you're still the same to us. You're still just as much of a burden. You're still a flake. You're still unreliable. You're still dishonest. So shake all that stuff that you picked up. Understand the lifestyle of a drug addict and go out of your way to make sure you don't accidentally allow yourself to continue it.
Very true. And that's something that also resonates with my heart. I have an entire chapter in my book regarding escaping these addictive habits and getting free from
Yeah.
addictions. And
Well, I
it's
feel all of us have an addict in us, if we succumb
yes.
to it or not. The addict is in every one of us. And the
Mhm.
addict is on 24/7 point. Stay strong. Even if you've never slipped up and you think, oh, I don't have an addictive personality, don't find out.
Oh, right. Yes, that's right. It is. It's so easy, and things can be so pretty and presented in a nice way. And there's so much
Yeah.
pressure. There's a lot of pressure out there.
I
So
sang in a rock band. Okay. Everybody and their mother was doing cocaine. It was all
yes.
over the place. I tried it, and being the hyperactive person I was, it took me down. And so I told my
Mhm.
band, like, unless you want me to sit on the back of the drum riser and sing to the curtain, you don't want to give me that stuff.
Right,
And
right.
I like being hyper. I like being me. And so, I really don't like doing things to change me, because I'm pretty cool with being where
Yes. So right. And I love the lifestyle design. It's reinventing your life on your terms. And that means you might have to walk away from peer groups and friends that are pulling you down. And I think that's a hard thing to do sometimes.
Well,
But
they don't
regard,
mean to. They don't
yes,
mean to. They're happy for you, but
yes.
they still have the problem. And when they sit down and light up the bowl, they're not trying to drag you back in. Most of them, some of them are.
Mhm.
They're not trying to drag you back in. They're too busy worrying about their high to worry about your addiction.
Exactly. So
Too busy feeding theirs.
sometimes we have to leave those that we love, our good friends, but later you will be the leader and they will come to you when they're ready to clean up.
Well,
And
exactly.
it'll
Long as when you leave them, you let them know, I am not gone. I will always be here for you, but I can't be there for you.
exactly, exactly. That's such good advice, Stephen. So now where can people connect with you? We're coming to the end of our talking time. So where can people connect with you, get your book, and learn more about all you're doing?
Well, as I said, I have my Facebook page, Steve Jones Watson. I also have an author page that Page Publishing has set up for me. It's Stephen T. Watson. The book can be bought at Amazon, Google Books. I didn't know this, but Thrifties and Walmart sell books. Googled myself
Mhm.
to see all the places I could see me and get all excited about it. And I found that when you look at these sites, each one of them will give you like a 32-page review. And
Mhm.
for a book like my own, it gives you a extreme good example of what it is in the book, because you'll get the whole table of contents and you'll get to read probably like 20, 25 theories in that 32 pages. And so
Wonderful.
you'll get a real good grip on the book. I also have a email, meintheory@gmail.com. I plan on following up this book, Sheila, with another book called You in Theory. In the end of the book, I've asked other people, because I'm nowhere near arrogant enough to think that I'm the only person with stuff that needs to be shared to make the world a better place. So I figured I would be the forum to do it. And my next book would be called, where I release other people's theories that might make the world a better place where they shared. And so
Outs
Me in Theory is where you send your theories so that they end up in the book You in Theory.
I love
And that
that.
is where you can chat with me, if get in touch with me. If you feel you need sex therapy help or wellness being coaching, I am on Presto Experts under the name Bon Johnson, BonJonsyn, and I can be reached 24/7 there. I'm always there for anybody who wants to talk. Unfortunately, it's not free, but you know, business is business.
Exactly, exactly. Well, that's wonderful, and it was so good to have you as a guest on the show today. Thank
Oh,
you,
Sheila,
Stephen.
I've been so excited since we booked this. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, thank you. And for those tuning in, we'll be back after these messages. Stay tuned. It's the holidays, and I'm dealing with an overwhelming sense of grief that is secondary to the loss of my family members that occurred during the holiday season almost 2 years ago. I'm attempting to resume my family traditions with a smile on my face, but my heart is troubled and sad. I'm grateful for the numerous friends and my support network that I am blessed with. However, I'm hoping that you can offer some insight and suggestions to help me keep my healing heart in perpetual motion this time of year. Thank you. Sincerely, Blue Christmas. Dear Blue Christmas, I'm so sorry for your loss. Losing more than one family member during the holidays is very difficult. I can't imagine. And one of the things that has helped me get through holiday seasons, because I've lost quite a few family members myself, was to change my holiday celebrations, to celebrate my loved ones that have crossed over in a different way, gave me a new tradition. And that may help you as well. I'm not sure how you celebrate your holidays or how you did in the past, but save a place for them at the table, maybe have a ceremony for them and send them love, and then stop and pause for a moment before you plan your holidays this season and think about, what if they were living with you today now, what would they want for you? as your relative, what would they want to see for your happiest holiday this year? For myself, with my children, I think what I would want for my children is for them to continue to celebrate and live their best life every day, including on the holidays. And I would appreciate their memories and thoughts of me. So I think that may help. And just forming new traditions. Because whenever there is a life shift, whatever it is, divorce, or kids grow up and they have their own family units, they can't travel to see us, whatever it is, our holidays are going to shift over time. And grieving a loss of more than one loved one is the hardest, for sure. Yet these are things that are going to happen. And so to have a new form of holiday will make a big difference for you. I hope this helps. As always, I wish you life, love, laughter, and light. Thank you for listening to Dear Sheila.
The cycle. Addiction. Maggie grew up loved by her relatives and friends. Shortly after coming into this world, she was adopted. Her birth mother had addiction problems and got pregnant very young. Close relatives arranged Maggie's adoption by two loving parents who couldn't have children of their own. Maggie grew up in a beautiful environment. She was well cared for, went to top schools, and had private tutoring when she needed it. She loved horseback riding, ice skating, and hours spent with her parents. They loved Maggie and gave her everything they possibly could. Then, toward the end of high school, Maggie's dad got sick and died. Maggie had received a full scholarship to college, but she deferred admission for a year so she could stay home and help her mom through the grieving process. She didn't feel like she could leave until her mom was settled and in a healthy place. Financially, they had to adjust. They sold the house Maggie had grown up in and moved to a smaller one across town. She finished high school, but one by one her friends left for college and Maggie stayed at home. In high school, Maggie hung out with friends and had a beer or smoked a little pot, or whatever kids do that we don't want them to do. As her friends went away to college and she grieved her father's death in her own way, she began hanging with a new crowd and experimenting with harder drugs. Maggie's mother was going through her grieving process, so she wasn't quite as present as she'd been in the past. She missed the signs that Maggie was slipping into addiction. If she had thought about it, she probably would have believed she knew and trusted her daughter. Experimenting with hard drugs wasn't a behavior she would suspect from the child she knew. While Maggie hung out with her friends, Maggie's mom went to grief counseling. By the time she noticed the changes in Maggie's behavior, the situation was severe. Maggie wasn't working. She wasn't doing anything. She stole money from her mom and friends. When her old high school friends came back to visit from college, they wondered what happened and who this new person was. It was very painful for those friends to see this young woman they loved so much go down such a difficult, terrible road. She lost a lot of friends who didn't want to hang out with somebody doing that to themselves. Maggie didn't get to go to college the next year. She lost her scholarship. Now her mom had to go through a new grieving process, losing the version of the little girl she thought she knew. Filling a void. People aren't born smokers or alcoholics, but they may be at risk for addiction. Maggie's birth mother was an addict. It's possible that Maggie inherited an increased likelihood of addictive behavior. Beyond that risk, however, Maggie was also trying to fill a void. Many times, people try to kill the pain of grief or loss with drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, or eating disorders. People who exhibit addictive behaviors are filling something in their life that they don't feel empowered about, that they feel they don't have control over. So they go down that road as an escape route. They can't deal with it, So they go drink or smoke pot. Sometimes it's only a couple of drinks or smoking a little for a brief period of time. Other times it's a slippery slope to higher level, hardcore drugs that can lead to an overdose. Whether it's lighter substances, even cigarettes, or hardcore drugs, when the substance controls you instead of you controlling your use, that's a sign of addiction. The things people are addicted to vary from one person to the next, whether it's a drug, a food, alcohol, or an activity that's bad for you. People have sexual addictions, addictions to gambling or shopping. Unbalanced behavior without moderation is another sign of addiction. Whatever form it takes, addiction can lead straight to rock bottom. I don't believe addicts choose to be addicts. They want to escape or numb a painful situation and use the substance or activity to do so. What begins as perhaps an entertaining, one-off experiment triggers the feel-better part of their brain, and when things are bad again, they go do the behavior again to feel better, and it becomes a vicious, uncontrollable cycle. When a chemical is involved, it's not easy to control. If it were, addicts would be able to say, well, I'm done. I'm not going to do that anymore. If you can't control your behavior, it's an addiction. Whether you see that in yourself or in a loved one, you need support and a community. So you don't have to go through that alone. It's going to take a lot of willpower and other resources to get through. You may want to help the loved one who has an addiction with all your heart, but you're going to have to do more than just talk about it. What to do if you recognize addiction in yourself. If you're reading this book and going through an addiction yourself, struggling to pull away and wanting to live the life you envisioned, but your addiction continues to pull you back down, know that for your children, for yourself, for the life that you desire, you're going to have to put down that addiction. If you don't, we have an activity at the end of this chapter that shows how your addiction affects every single aspect of your life. If your addiction is controlling you and you're not in control of your life, you need to consider seeking medical treatment for an addiction. If you recognize addictive behavior in yourself, maybe this just solidifies it, or maybe it brings it to light for you. You thought things were going fine, and then you realize, oh, that's why my family isn't speaking to me. Or, that's why I'm having such a tough time at work and always getting in trouble. I recently met a 32-year-old waiter who works 2 jobs but is still struggling to pay his rent because he goes out drinking most nights of the week. All his friends drink, his family drinks, and that's the only way he knows how to socialize. Anything he does outside of work involves alcohol, and it's starting to mess up his life. He's tired all the time. He doesn't feel well most days, and he wants to find one well-paying job instead of working 2 lower-paying ones. As we talked, he finally admitted, I think I have a problem with my drinking. If you've had a similar realization, you may be wondering what you should do or what you can do. You have to address the real cause of what led you down that road. Honor your experience and face it. Then deal with whatever you have to do to get rid of some of it. That may require medical intervention, medication to get off the drug, or going through a rehab program because now your body is physically addicted to the substance. You may need to find a new peer group who are focused on the positive things you want to accomplish, like work, school, or personal development. You need to change your environment so that you set yourself up for success, removing the people, situations, or items that trigger your addiction. Then, you need to replace your addiction with a new, healthy behavior. What can you replace this coping mechanism with? Some people get a high when they run, and that allows them to process the things that are happening in their life. Or if running isn't where you're at right now, maybe you want to try yoga to help you get calm and centered. There has to be something new that you pick up instead of picking up that drug or alcohol or credit card or food to binge on. If you used to be addicted to burgers and fries, maybe you can get addicted to going out dancing or doing yoga or riding your bike. You can replace an addiction to drinking or a drug with writing in your journal, blasting music, or painting when things are difficult. Maybe you're going to join an adult sports team. We don't have to stop playing just because we're adults. I have a client who used to be a competitive swimmer. That was her healthy release and way to cope. Then she had children and got stuck working long hours in a job she didn't like. She was doing everything for everyone else and nothing for herself. So to cheer herself, she would eat little treats. One day when her kids were in high school, she realized just how out of shape she was. Thinking back, she also realizes that she's been miserable for years. She's not happy, so she numbed her misery with food. She struggled with that realization. She was angry. She asked herself, what the hell happened to me? After dealing with her immediate reaction, she decided to take a plunge and make one change for herself. One of the neighbors let her use their pool in exchange for teaching their children how to swim. Soon she started teaching other children how to swim as well. Eventually she started her own swimming school. Now she's in great shape and she still teaches swimming. Her kids are grown and she taught her grandkids how to swim. And she's happy. She needed a way to replace that addiction with something positive. Your healthy replacement doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to please another human being. It's just something that is your way of expressing yourself or having fun that isn't eating or doing something else to fill the void. Then it's a real happiness, not a drug-induced feeling from an activity that drags you down. It's a healthy habit that leads to taking back that control in your life rather than letting your addiction determine where you end up. What to do if you recognize addiction in a loved one. As I said, addiction affects everyone and everything in your life. But what does it look like for the person on the other side of that addiction? You may experience a child, friend, or partner struggle with an addiction, but you can't just tell them, oh, just stop drinking. Get addicted to the beach. That's a great idea, but when it's not your own idea, it won't work. And then you'll have the added resentment of, who the hell are you to tell me what to do? Sometimes people say things they wouldn't say if they weren't in that addiction space. Their character and personality are almost lost. It's not them. They have something else that's ruling their common sense or right thinking. If they were in control, in their right mind, and not addicted to something, they would not want the addiction in their life, your life, or their children's lives. When somebody's ready to kick an addiction, they ask, what can I do? What are my options? They're ready to walk through that door instead of you having to push them. I know that you want to push them because you love them so much. You have the desire to push them, drag them, or do whatever you have to do, figuratively or literally, just to get them to that healthy place because you want the best for them. Sometimes that means stepping out of the picture.
All right, so that was a portion of a chapter from my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. Breaking free from addictions is the chapter. So I also have a special gift for you. Protect yourself and your loved ones from the controlling, manipulative difficulties of addiction. Learn how to defend against backsliding and help to reboot your addiction from one that controls you or a loved one to a healthy habit that blesses all. Get your 2-week email-based addiction defense course at www.sheilamac.com/defense. Now, this is a free course for you. It's a mini course. And then if you would like to join a small support group, that is also available at SheilaMac.com. And I hope this helps. All right, I'm sending you happiness and wellness blessings at its finest, and I'm giving you some homework. Grab a copy of my latest book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. You need a guide to show you how we get through a situation like this, to give you resources and to help you get out of the emotional pea soup fog of dealing with a crisis and the resulting fallout. I've been there, and I'm here to help you. My new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. It is now available on Audible,